So I bought the ARIA 2 Reds, and my first question was, has Moondrop finally redeemed themselves? Nope, not fully, but it is a good start because this is actually pretty decent. Now the ARIA Red is for the most part still the same sound as the ARIA 2, however, at least this time the tonality has been slightly improved over its predecessor. In terms of the sound, the Red follows that similar Moondrop house tuning, balanced, clean, with a slight mid-bass hump. The main difference versus the ARIA 2 is that the Red is now more mid-centric. They did boost the upper mids a little bit more. The vocals have slightly more power and clarity to them. It is a bit more forward, and the fuzziness and soft timbre on the original ARIA 2 has now been removed. The main issue I had with the ARIA 2, aside from the price, is that it just felt a bit too soft and smoothed out any texture because of the treble air. The ARIA 2 sounded, a bit anemic, too laid back, and the dynamics and imaging also took a slight hit because of that fuzziness. Fortunately, the Red doesn't have that because they did remove some of that treble air for a better balance overall. It allows the vocals to pop out more, slightly improving the low end tactility because there's just less focus in the air that covers and softens the bass. The Red overall just sounds more natural, better tuned, and slightly more resolving while retaining that sense of space. Like if I only had a choice between the Reds, the ARIA 2, and the SC, I would pick the Red 10 out of 10 times. It just does the balance all-rounder sound the best, the most natural, and really nobody should be buying the others after the Red comes out, especially the OG ARIA and the ARIA SE. Please stop recommending those. Those are already and have been outdated for a while. I would also skip the Kato and the Condense, especially the Kato has been outdated for like a year now, and the Condense is marginally better than the ARIA Reds, like slightly better in the separation, but you're paying double the price for a marginal difference because they sound very similar in the tuning. Tip-wise, anything works. I like the Software Ultra Clears for something smooth, or the ASLA Sendas for a slightly more energetic playback. You don't really need to decrease or boost the treble or bass on these because I think it is pretty well tuned as it is. In terms of scaling, I got the Reds up to around 75 to 80 dBs depending on the song because the treble extension is still pretty smooth overall, but for the most part the Red is more of a mid to mid high volume set, again depending on the track. For example, K-pop, J-pop, electronic will be around 65 dBs or so, and anything less energetic or slower like acoustics, ballads, those would scale up a little bit better. Basically, the Reds work for most genres at normal volume because these are an all-rounder set. You can hit shuffle and you can be pretty safe that your ears will be fine for the most part. Just don't like blast these because again, it will start getting a bit shouty from the 1 to 4K boost that some people might find a bit fatiguing. Now, tech-wise, the Reds are slightly below the DEFIANT and the EW300, which means that it's still somewhat competitive, but just a little bit more expensive than its competitors, aka the Moondrop tax. When it comes to the low-end texture, the resolution overall, it is slightly upgraded over the ARIA 2, but it's not going to be as good as some of the other PLANARS under $100 like the Planar, F1 Pros, S12s. You can still get the RDT10s for $50, half the price of these, around the same performance. So that's where my issue lies once again. It is in the pricing. But this time the Reds aren't totally overpriced like the Condense, the ARIA 2, the Rays, the Meteor. This is just slightly more expensive at $100. Now it could be partially because of the tariffs, but recently the US and China has dropped some of it, so hopefully Moondrop also drops some accordingly. But if you can get the Red for around $60 to $70, I would say still go for it. These are well balanced, they're nicely built. I do like the red color, it has good accessories. This isn't the stock cable. Stock cable is the same silver stock one as the ARIA 2. However, is it my first pick under $100? No, it is still a little bit pricey. For example, versus the EW300 3.5 version, the EW300 just has better bass texture, it slams harder, it has more extension and rumble in the sub bass. The treble also pulls in a little bit more detail, and the overall sound is more dynamic, it's a little bit more engaging, and slightly more musical than the ARIA Reds. You can often find the EW300 3.5 on sale for around $60, which is a good chunk less than the ARIA Reds, and it also does have the tuning nozzles that actually work and change the sound. So in terms of value, you're getting a lot more variety and performance for $30 less, unless you can get the ARIA Reds for like within $10 of the EW300s. I would probably just wait for like a big sale on these because the tuning isn't unique enough to justify the price. Like if you want that clean, balanced, all-rounder sound, the DEFIANT would actually be a better pick over the ARIA Reds for around the same price. It has slightly better separation, more detail, and deeper sub-bass rumble while maintaining that clean and airy sound. And accessory wise, it's also on the same level with the nice case and cable, well, depending on the unit you get, because my Defiant case zipper did already break and my other Defiant unit had a bad channel imbalance. With that said, Moondrop also doesn't have the best track record when it comes to QC, so in my opinion, the QC kind of cancels each other out and you just get a slightly better version. Like if you wanted a cleaner sound, the Tongzu Xuanyu is literally that, but just at $60. Very clean, you know, harmonish, kind of like the ARIA Reds, and slightly better in the separation as well. You also have the ZIIGAAT CINNOs if you want something more neutral, more unique in the balance. It scales better as a balanced set, and it's also like $70 on sale. So both of those would be my pick over the ARIA Reds if you want like a cleaner sound. Now, if I were to recommend some other IEMs under $100, my top picks would be number 1, the SIMGOT EM6L on sale. It's very smooth, has great treble extension, musical and not clinical. It is pretty full sounding. Like as an all-rounder set, the EM6L is not only more dynamic, but it also retains that refinement in the sound and at a better value. You can get these for around like $90 on sale. Then after those, I would go for the AFUL Explorer. You can get them on sale for under $100. It scales incredibly well, very immersive, really draws you into the music while being pretty bassy, punchy, but not overly warm, and still, you know, relatively balanced for that bassy and more relaxing sound that it's going for. Yes, the Explorer does need more power and volume, but it's just a more unique sound than the Reds while being like chill, laid back at mid volume. So you kind of have two different experiences. At mid volume, it's like laid back and chill. High volume, very immersive and very musical. Because like if I wanted an all-rounder, there are just a ton of options at $50. There's the Confined Clean, the Zenith, you know, the Q5 Pro, literally any tin hi-fi single DDs, and even the cheaper stuff like the CCA Trio would be a pretty good pick. And then after that, I would probably go for the EW300 3.5 version with all the reasons I already mentioned before, as well as the TANCHJIM 4U. The 4U is a little bit underrated in my opinion. It's got a lot of variety with the tuning switches. It goes from neutral to like a balance to slightly warm and also very smooth. Great treble extension with like similar performance as the ARIA Reds, but you can get these for around like $60 on sale with a lot more variety. The build is also very nice. It's also made out of metal. You get pretty good accessories, and value wise, both the EW300 and the 4U are gonna run circles around the ARIA Reds. Like I can keep going. If we're just talking about like value when it comes to detail and performance, you have the PLANARS like the Planar, the F1 Pros, the, you know, RDT10s. All those are gonna be just a better value performance wise compared to the ARIA Reds on sale. You can also get the CCA Hydro for under $100 on sale if you want like a bassier and heavier sound, while still being pretty balanced and all-rounded, pretty smooth overall, with just a lot more variety on top with the switches. You also have the EA500LM, which is probably the most technical IEM under $100. You can get it for $80 on sale. The newer batches don't have the overly bright boosted treble, and it just sounds more sparkly and livelier while still having that balanced sound. So even though the ARIA 2 Reds is an improvement over the ARIA 2s, it is still a little bit pricey given the competition around it for all the reasons I listed above. And because of that, I can only give these a half recommendation, because when you're hitting $100, you can just stretch a little bit more and get the Chopin, the Nova, Supermix 4, the Eroso, Aether, Lush, the XUAN, right? All of those on sale are gonna be just straight up more unique, more different, and arguably better in my opinion over the Reds. There's also the new MK12 from Hydus, which is very good. I was very surprised by it. Review on that soon. But that aside, again, half recommendation, go for it if it's on sale. But yeah, I hope this review was helpful. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see everyone in the next one. Shout out to Dom Q, Rorix Cat, Mystic Spoon Attack, B Urac, Discal Scaldus, Walker Standard, Patrick, User, Mr. Gorillas, Polly J, Anton Risto, Giseng Yon, Christopher Jackson, Name, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, Obi, Wizard, Frickalicious, Pepis R, Contain Guava Juice Gains, Trent Back Lay, Forever New, Chuckle Norris 420, FKSRG, Treble Will Extended, 777ZK, Cousin Fat, Oh Really, Giorgio's, Anthony, Julius Phillip, Dead Riddle, Bilha, Zane, Tamat, and Art Moore. Thank you guys so much.